Hi guys, welcome back to Going to. Thanks for joining the channel. Got some very interesting news that just happened recently. This news is coming straight out of Niger and Benin. So for those that didn't really hear, check this out. Benin bans oil exports from landlocked Niger over border dispute. Wow. So instantly, I'm quite intrigued from just that. Border dispute between Niger and Benin. What's going on? So, Benin President Patrice Talon says oil from pipeline cannot be offloaded to tankers in their harbor until issues have been resolved. So, if you've been living under a rock, let me explain what's been happening. So, Niger has some generous oil reserves they've been pumping out and using domestically. So most of the use has just been captured within their domestic markets and not really being exported. And the reason for that is they hadn't had any other ways of sending and distributing all those oil reserves to anyone else who wants to buy them from around the world, whether it be their next door neighbors or somewhere else from overseas. So what happened recently is that there had been a partnership between a Chinese oil company. They got into this partnership to allow the Chinese company, so they'll construct and operate. That's the type of relationship they've got with them, and then obviously each party has some percentage ownership of the proceeds that come in. So, in order for Niger to be able to export what they're making, they started to partner with Benin, the government of Benin, and within the country of Benin to build a pipeline worth about 2,000 kilometers in length. So that's a big deal for that country. So that pipeline would essentially transport all their oil they're producing, the crude oil producing, sending it across from Niger to Benin, and then from Benin to the ports and to the rest of the world. So, the president of Benin, Patrice Talon, has been at the forefront of preventing the exports from Niger making their way to Benin's ports to eventually reach the international market. So, the president of Benin has prevented the start of the oil exports from the landlocked Niger because the military government refuses to open its borders with its southern neighbor, being Benin. This border situation has triggered an increase in illicit smuggling of foodstuffs across the Niger River, causing the price of cereal grains to rise in Benin, which has generated social unrest. So, from that statement alone, you can already see the incentive that Benin has to try and resolve this whole issue. And this whole issue started because of the coup that took place in Niger. So the coup that took place in Niger, overthrowing the previously democratically elected government. And when that coup happened, pretty much the Economic Community of West African States, which is ECOWAS, which Benin is part of, essentially sent out some sanctions as a way to tighten things up for the new government, the new military government in place in Niger. Part of the sanctions involve closing the borders and not allowing Niger to be able to export anything or import anything, and essentially tighten the belts for them and prevent them from being able to do anything. So this is how all this started, and it's a pretty interesting topic. I really would love to get your opinions on this, so please do share your opinions and thoughts. Please subscribe.
Benin is expected to receive transit duties and tax revenues per quantity of Nigerian oil that gushes out at Semekrake. The projection comes as the platform where the pipeline which connects the Agadem oil fields lands. Last Sunday, Nigerian oil gushed out at Semekake in Benin, raising hopes for at least 2,000 jobs for the West African nation. Niger pumps around 20,000 barrels of oil per day, most of it from China National Petroleum Corp projects in the Agadem Rift Basin in the country's southeast. The country is believed to be sitting on 1 billion barrels of crude reserves, according to the African Petroleum Producers Organization.
Benin's President Patrice Talon is demanding that the landlocked Niger reopen its border if it wants to use Benin's ports. He says that Niger is treating Benin like an enemy and is not cooperating to restore ties or normalize trade, but is allowing informal border crossings.
We said economic relations and trade relations must be re-established so that goods, particularly oil, can cross Benin, be loaded and so on. But we have received no response. It would seem that the Niger authorities prefer Niger oil to cross Benin informally, to be loaded in our waters informally, because they believe that Benin is perhaps an enemy country, because the Benin authorities are enemies.